Hello and welcome to -4points, a new YouTube channel on all things FPL. This is a new channel, it's our second video. We're following my journey on FPL and hopefully giving you some tips, or you can criticize me, let me know in the comments, let me know on Twitter, let me know what I'm doing wrong. But yep, this is -4points, and this week proves why we've called the channel -4points, because this week I'm taking 2 hits, which is terrible. We're going to be looking at last week when I played my wildcard in game week 4, so we'll be looking at that team and how they did, and then we'll be taking a preview at next week and talking about some players who didn't quite make the cut and the players that did make me have to take those hits. So let's start by looking at last week's review. This is game week 4's team. I played my wildcard and it didn't go great because my second most expensive defender and my second most expensive striker both didn't play. Christensen wasn't played. I think there was a lot of international football and Chelsea had a Champions League game on the Tuesday after, so Christensen was rested and Calvert-Lewin seemed like he was going to pass the fitness test. There were photos of him in training, so I included him in the team, and then it turns out that in training he gets another injury, so Calvert-Lewin's injured, so he didn't make the team. Allen came off the bench with a solid 2. And I was lucky with Livramento. That's why you need good players on your bench, good cheap players who play, because occasionally they come in with a reasonable score. Livramento did that with his 6 points, so I was happy with that. In total, 75 points. It's fairly good. It's a green arrow, so I'm happy with that. My overall rank has improved. Overall points 316. I think it's a good start to the season. I have played the wildcard though, so that is kind of a slight disadvantage, but I feel like my team's in a good place. I think looking at last week proved why I had to have Trent. Trent delivering 9 points reaffirmed to me that I was thinking of taking Trent out for Matip, and this is exactly why I didn't do it, so that was good. Tierney with a 7 as well. I'm encouraged about Arsenal's defence. I think even if you double down on Arsenal's defence right now with their fixtures, Tierney and White would not be a bad combo. So I'm happy that I brought in Tierney. In midfield, the Jota and Torres, I still don't know how I feel about them. I feel like one of them at least will be coming out in the next 2 weeks. They both started, which was a good sign, but 3 points from both of them wasn't great. Traore as well, 3 points. Wolves was this thing where we were like, Wolves, what are they going to do? What are they going to do? In my last video, I did have 2 Wolves players in the starting lineup. I ended up taking Semedo out for Tierney just because I've started to lose faith in Wolves. Everyone says that they're going to click, they're going to start scoring, they're going to start assisting, it's going to be great, but I'm just not seeing it yet. And 2 goals against Watford with the gold not really coming from the players that most people have. I just wasn't that encouraged by Wolves, so I'm actually taking Traore out this week and not having any Wolves in my team. I just can't commit to Wolves yet until I know exactly who the players are who are going to deliver points regularly. You know, I'm off Wolves. And my captain was Ronaldo. I was debating between Ronaldo and Salah before who to make captain. I went Ronaldo in the end, and I'm glad I did. It paid off. Ronaldo, obviously, on his debut at Old Trafford against Newcastle, he was always going to fire. And then there's Antonio, who I think everyone I know had Antonio, and he gets sent off. So that's a new spanner in the works. Antonio won't be playing the next game. West Ham have Europa League coming up. There's a lot of decisions. But yeah, that's a general review. I don't think the wildcard was too bad. I think it was good that I played the wildcard. My team is in a good place. And now let's take a look at the players who are on my watch list who didn't quite make my team for next week. So these are the players who are on my watch list. They didn't make my team for the following week, but they are on my list either to bring them in the next few weeks or possibly even squeeze another in this week. But I have taken hits already this week, so I doubt they'll be coming in this week. Reece James is one who, from game week 7 onwards, everyone's talking about Chelsea's fixtures. I do think doubling down, tripling down even on Chelsea from game week 7 onwards could be a good move. Chelsea look good. They're doing well in all competitions. I think the only thing is their rotation still. Tuchel is not quite Pep, but he does rotate, and James is someone who, if James gets in the team, James played in the Champions League against Zenit, so I'm hoping that this is the start of James putting together a good set of fixtures. He's got Spurs and then Man City, so I'm probably looking at getting him after that. Townsend, I don't know if anyone scored Townsend's goal at the weekend, but he scored a worldie. He did what he always does. Townsend has always been one of these players where he's never played for Chelsea, so I've never been able to cheer him on as if one of my players, but I've always cheered him on as if he was one of my favourite players. He's always been a player I've loved watching. He's got a great delivery. I think he's really underrated. He scores worldies every now and again, but knowing Townsend as well as I do, I'm just resisting going for him right now. He's at a great price, 5.4. And he's playing in an Everton team who are attacking. I'm scared of Townsend. I just know, yes, he scores the worldie, but then it goes a few weeks without a goal. Then he scores another worldie, and you just can't predict when he's going to score those goals. So for now, I'm holding off. Maybe he's got a new lease of life with Rafa. Maybe he'll start delivering regularly, and that's why he's on the watch list. The same for Gallagher. As a Chelsea fan, I'm very excited about Gallagher. He's a young, exciting player. Chelsea seem to have a lot in that position, which makes sense that he went on loan. And the thing about Gallagher is he's at Palace, which is always hard, because if he was at a higher team, if he was at a top 6 team, I think he'd be getting a lot more points. He's doing okay for now, and I think if he just becomes Palace's #1 route to goals, if he's getting the goals and all the assists, he'll be a great pick. So I'm keeping an eye on him. He's got Liverpool this weekend, so I'm not looking at getting him in now, but maybe the following week, Gallagher, because he's 5.5. He could come in for one of my midfielders, Jota or Torres, and then with that money I can upgrade someone else. So I'm keeping an eye on Gallagher. Same way I'm keeping an eye on Greenwood. He didn't play the Champions League for Man United, and with Ronaldo, with Rashford will be coming back soon, with all of the options they have, I worry for Greenwood. I don't think he's nailed on minutes, and for me, I want players who are more nailed on minutes. And I've got risks in my team at the moment with Christensen, Jota, and Torres. Those 3 aren't nailed on every week, so I think adding Greenwood now would just be too many risks. So I'm keeping an eye on him. If he nails on that right midfield role as his own, and he keeps being attacking, keeps coming in, Greenwood's definitely an option. And Ramsdale is the other one, 4.5 goalkeeper for Arsenal, who have good fixtures, can defend. Last season proved that Arsenal can defend. If they can get over the bad start, I think Ramsdale is another option. So that's the 5 players on my watch list. Let's take a look at who's made the team this week in my preview for game week 5. So this is my team for game week 5. I've done 3 transfers, so that's a -8 point hit. I'm not happy with that. I'm not proud, but when you look at my team, let me explain why. I don't know if I'm explaining this to you or if I'm trying to justify this to myself, but either way, up front, I had Calvert-Lewin and Antonio, both who weren't going to play at the weekend. So Calvert-Lewin could be out for, I don't know, it's unsure. I thought he was going to play last week and he didn't, so I don't know with Calvert-Lewin. Some people are saying 2 or 3 weeks. So Calvert-Lewin wasn't going to play. Antonio wasn't going to play. And also Antonio, I just don't know. I'm not fully sure. The fixtures are getting a little bit trickier for West Ham. I don't know about Antonio anymore. I think I can always bring him back in. I think with Europa League and with his great start, I just don't think he can keep that fire up. And I wanted Lukaku. I really wanted Lukaku. I was fiddling around my team trying to find how I can fit Ronaldo and Lukaku in. And I think this is how I do it. I've taken the hits so that I can try having Ronaldo and Lukaku and changing formation, going 2 up top, 4-4-2. Gelhardt is the other striker at Leeds. He's just a 4.5 striker, so he'll be 3rd bench, never playing. I'm happy with that. It means I can have a 4-4-2, and I'm thinking from game week 7 onwards, I'm going to double down on Chelsea's defence. So 4 at the back with Trent and Tierney, and then 2 Chelsea defenders. I think the defence could give a good return. I think that could be a good option. So Williams is in there now because he's the cheap defender, and he's got Watford at home. I mean, if he's not going to get points against Watford at home, Watford who haven't looked like scoring, if he's not going to get any points this week, then he's staying on the bench for the rest of the season, possibly moving him on. In midfield, I brought in Gray. He just looked electric. I didn't want to get Gray straight away. When he scored 2 in 2, I was thinking, this is typical Gray. I just don't know. But I watched him a little more closely at the weekend, and he looked lively. He got the goal. He's constantly bursting from that wing. And I think with Calvert-Lewin out, if they'll be playing around with the formation, Gray may be given more license to play more attacking, possibly as a striker, I don't know. Even if he's not a striker, he's constantly looking to burst forward. And when they've got Richarlison as their striker, it gives Gray an opportunity. So I think Gray, Townsend and Decore are all great midfield options from Everton. You could even have 2, and that way you're kind of relying on one of them to get the points. And I think they have good fixtures, Everton. They're in good form. They don't have Europe, which is massive at this point of the season, I think. There's less chance of rotation from the teams that aren't in Europe. So Gray's a good option for me. So I brought in Gray this week, I brought in Lukaku, and I brought in Gelhardt to facilitate those two transfers. I took out Traore because, like I said earlier, I'm just not certain on Wolves. Traore doesn't have the end product. Even if Traore scores this weekend, I won't be fully confident that he's going to score the next weekend and the next. And he's just not one of those players. And Wolves just don't seem like that team at the moment where I can fully trust them. So Gray's come in for Traore. Lukaku came in for Calvert-Lewin because he's injured and I don't know how long for. And Antonio's out. So this is my team going forward. Trent is still in the team. I'm happy that I've been able to make a team with Trent, Salah, Jota, Ronaldo, and Lukaku. Those are the premium players I think at the moment I really want. The others are a little bit more risky. They're a little bit more cheaper. Like Christensen, he's the cheaper of the Chelsea defence because I can afford him. Gray's a cheaper midfielder. So I have taken risks here, but I think if I take Jota or Torres out in the future and upgrade Williams, that gives me a solid back four. And that gives me a Salah midfield and good cheap midfielders. I think my strategy going forward is going to be to keep the top two, Ronaldo and Lukaku. They're going to deliver regularly, consistently. They're reliable players. And I just rotate the midfielders, the cheap to medium price midfielders. If I keep rotating them to whoever's in form, that's my strategy for now. Hopefully it pays off. You can see my squad value is 100.3. I've still got 0.6 in the bank because I am planning, I think Williams out for Reece James and Torres or Jota, one of those out for a cheaper midfielder, maybe Gallagher, maybe another Everton midfielder. That will, I think, make me a solid team. I think it's good going forward. I think in the future I'll be able to triple down on Chelsea. I think I'll be able to keep Ronaldo and Lukaku, and I'm hoping that having Ronaldo and Lukaku is a little bit of a differential. I've seen a lot of people saying it's one or the other, still saying that, and I think I found a way of squeezing them both in. But it is a risk just because the rest of the team, there's not as much certainties in the rest of the team. But I'm going with it. If it doesn't work out, they'll come out for Antonio or Calvert-Lewin in the future. Maybe Bamford, even Bamford and Leeds have a good run of fixtures. But for now, this is my team. We've taken -8 point hit this week, so I really need a good return. I really want to justify that -8 point hit. I'm going to try and not take too many points hits in the future. I like the setup of this team right now. Even the bench, Allen and Livramento, both are good options off the bench. If they have good fixtures at the moment, Livramento Man City away isn't the greatest fixture. So, but Livramento is proving, there's rumours Livramento is going to be playing as a midfielder in the future with Kyle Walker-Peters playing behind him. And if that's the case, Livramento is our new Lundstrom, definitely. He is the defender who's playing further forward. So that's my team. Let me know in the comments or on Twitter what you think, how your team's going. I'd love to hear from you. As always, YouTube game, help a brother out, like and subscribe. And I'll see you next week. Good week with Game Week 5, everybody, and I'll see you next week.